Hi, buddy. Good morning, people. Welcome to another episode of the Strategic Podcast. We are sitting down with leaders, innovators, and industry professionals to discuss leadership, business, personal growth, and the experiences that shape successful careers. Today, I'm very excited to be here with Cole Woodard to the show. Cole has built an impressive career so far at a very young age in the data center and critical infrastructure industry, navigating a rapidly evolving market driven by artificial intelligence, cloud computing, digital transformation, unprecedented, I think that's the word, infrastructure demand. Throughout this journey, Cole has developed a reputation quickly as a leader, has built strong teams, and creating meaningful, impactful relationships with organizations he has served. Cole, welcome to the Strategic Podcast. I'm very excited to have you today. So I'm going to throw it over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to.
Thanks, Todd. I really appreciate you, first of all, for having me. This is a
Sure.
great opportunity, and I look forward to talking. So I'm Cole Woodard. I'm the superintendent for MidPoint. Like I said, I am young. I'm 22 years old. This is pretty much all I've done since I graduated high school. Didn't go to college, jumped straight into it. My father pretty much has done this my whole life, so there was a big impact on me. Just always knew where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. Did not expect, to grow as fast as I did. I thought I'd follow the same path as everyone does, be a technician for, 3-4 years, which a lot of people do. Slowly get into the leadership space. But as soon as, I stepped foot in the data center world, I hit the ground running.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome. Because
I was in there.
yeah, I want the audience to know, Cole started right out of high school. He started a few years ago, several years ago. Him and I met. I was really impressed by you right off the get go. Your willingness to learn, your willingness to come right out of the box and just start digging in. And I think that career journey and your career path so far at such a young age has really, really been impressive. Start from from the beginning, Cole. Tell us about your journey so far. Where'd you work? Or you can mention things if you want to mention things, but what did you start out as? Where did you come into the data center as, not knowing really anything? I know that your father's been in this industry for a long time, and you probably learned some things from him. But still, how did you dive into this?
Yeah, so I firstly came in 18 years old, started working with Direct Line, now CBRE. Just came in as a base technician, knew nothing pretty much about the data center space. And when I tell you it's the most, eye-opening experience, walking into, the server floor for the first time, it's almost like out of a movie. It really is. It's a super cool thing, go into. But it's also very overwhelming. There's a lot of moving parts in the data centers, as you know, very fast paced. And for someone who's not used to that, especially coming out of high school, you're kind of just strolling through life kind of thing. And then you come into the space where it's very fast paced, a lot of moving parts, very fast deadlines. Everything is now.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a shock to your system. I tell everybody, even, techs that I hire on a daily basis, it's a very sink or swim. You're either going to get it or you're not. The people who get it usually exceed quickly. And that's the
Excel
best thing
fast.
about it.
Yeah, they excel really fast in this industry. If you're a hard worker, if you got a good head on your shoulders, I tell you what, you're going to roll right through people. You're going to roll right through this industry, and you're going to be really successful. But looking back on that day one coming out of high school into the data center, it had to be a little bit intimidating for you. It had to be like, what am I going to do? Where do I start? How does this even happen? Like, what am I supposed to be doing here?
100%. Especially, honestly, the biggest thing when you first get into a data center is just how big they are.
Yeah.
These are massive spaces. It took me probably 2 weeks to figure out where I was going without following somebody else. They're huge, massive spaces.
So what's the biggest one you've worked on so far? What's the square footage or even gigawatt, megawatt? Those things are massive now. Where are you doing, without giving away names of hyperscales and stuff like that? But
Yeah.
what's the size?
Honestly, as I've it's crazy because I was talking to somebody about this earlier. Every data center I step into gets bigger.
Yep.
I just went on a walk last week. It was 3 stories, like 100,000 square feet. It was just
Massive.
mind blowing the amount of things that are going in. Now you're seeing liquid cooling and just all the new stuff that you're seeing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I have a significant other that it works in the industry, and she is working on a 5 mile long data center right now. That's massive, massive data center, and she's a program manager, and she's just seeing the opportunities, immense challenges and stuff like that. So, in your career, what have been some of the key moments so far that's kind of have shaped you from starting as a technician, moving along as a lead to a supervisor now, overlooking teams of people? Tell me what's kind of shaped that for you.
To be honest, my biggest growing, moments were definitely when I traveled. Um, as a young kid, being out there, by yourself, especially when you get thrown into leadership places, right? Um, whenever you start out, when you're young, you really have to earn the respect of others. There's kind of a misconception, right? You think that people are just automatically supposed to respect you if you're their lead or their superintendent or whatever you are in a leadership, space, right? But you have to earn that. I learned very quick that it's not given. You have to earn it. You have to earn the respect of others. You have to earn the trust of others. And,
Yep.
my first data center, I felt as though I really gained the trust of everyone who worked with me. It was a very rude awakening when I traveled for the first time and was kicking off another data center. I was fresh off to play with new people who've never met me before, and I was just trying to lead them like I had been leading the last couple of years. And it did not work.
Yeah.
Did not work. All they
I
saw was
know
a
that.
young kid.
Yeah, I know that you and I have had conversations on how do I go about gaining the respect of others? How do I lead appropriately? What can I do to be better for my teammates and stuff like that? What are those things that you've kind of implemented as of late since our last conversation about being a better leader and having better teammates?
To be honest, the biggest thing that I've thought was been amazing is just being there when people need you, being there for the small things, listening to people. I never take anyone talking to me about a concern as complaints. Everyone's concerns are valid to me. I'll be the first one to listen to whatever you have to tell me. Um, just like I'll be the first one to tell you you're doing a great job. I promise you, if I'm ever come to talk to somebody and I have, constructive criticism, the first thing I'm telling you is what you're doing good. What I'm love seeing, you're doing a great job at this. The only thing that we need to tweak a little bit is, et cetera. And I think that really helps people just understand that I'm not going and just picking out little things that they're doing wrong. I'm noticing, everything they're doing right as well.
Yeah. Cole, I think you're so polished at such a young age. Was there a mentor that you have had in your life? Is there someone that is still, excuse me, influencing you today in your decisions?
To be honest, my father.
Mhm.
I mean, throughout the day, every day, I'm texting my father. How do I, handle this situation? And a big thing I had to work through, being younger is imposter syndrome. A big thing for me is, I always saw, people that I thought to be, a lot smarter, a lot, more polished in the data center world more than I was, right? And I was like, do I really, deserve to be in this spot? And he was always the person telling me, that's kind of something you're going to have to work through as being younger, right? You're playing the cards that you're dealt. You earned, the place that you're at. Um, everyone makes their own decisions, and that's just something I definitely had to work through.
Yeah, I love it. It's like advocating for yourself as well. So I like the fact that you have stepped up and you have come forward and asked for advice. You've asked for help. That is things these days that we are missing in leadership, especially from a technician moving into the steps of next step to a supervisor or to a director or something like that. And those lessons learned on this early path in your career are going to be big decisions for you later, and making those bigger decisions and having the key abilities to do that. So when you look back was there a defining moment that you realized like, wow, I can actually do this. And, you know, what made you decide to have that confidence saying, wow, I can do this. I can get this done. I can be 22 years old and run teams and have people look up to you.
100%. It really started, back in my first data center. I was there for a good while, and it really kicked in when I noticed, the higher level, execs were pointing me out to go on the walks. Not just because, I was the most knowledgeable, but I always had a full scope of things. I was never just solely focused on my job. I was always, taught don't be the person that to say that's above my pay grade. That was never me. I would always, go above and beyond to make sure I had a full scope of everything, not just, one side of the project that I might be tasked to do. If anyone has a question for anything, I could tell you anything about it.
Yeah,
And
that's
when they
awesome.
were, pointing me out to, to go on these sidewalks, and I was like, I think, this is something that I could probably excel in for sure.
Yeah, I like that. So let's switch over now. So your leadership and building teams, obviously, is some of the challenges that we've talked about personally between you and I as well. What has been the most difficult leadership decision that you've had to make today with your teams?
To be honest, something that I'll never get used to is, having to let someone go, for the business. Um, you know, People have families, they have, responsibilities, they're coming to work because, they have to make money to, survive, right? And having to make those difficult decisions, for the betterment of the company is something that I really struggle with. Because I really connect with all my technicians on a very personal level. We're all, have a very good relationship with everybody. I pride myself on, like I said, everyone talks to me. I don't ever want anyone to feel as though I'm their boss. I'm just there to make everyone's life easier. And when I have to make those hard decisions, it's definitely a struggle for me.
Yeah, those are tough. Those are always tough ones to do. And I understand what you're saying. I've had to do a lot of those in my career, but it also has taught me a whole lot about leadership. What did that teach you moving forward in the next potential situation where you would have to let somebody go?
At the end of the day, it's just business. Um, I'm always there for the technicians, and that's something I've learned too. Is as soon as I have to make that hard decision, I'm always the first to be like, if you need anything, if you need a reference, I'm always going to be here for reference. For your next endeavors, I'll be there to be that person that you can say, you did a great job. It just did not work out here, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. So in those, when you're building your teams, over the years, and then in today's environment, what does that look like to you moving forward? Because we're in such a fast-paced environment right now in the data center. We can't find a lot of great leaderships. We can't find a lot of people that can come in and take the bull by the horns and then run these data centers. What does your leadership environment look like in terms of what are you looking for in individuals to hire on your team? What are those qualities that you look for?
I no longer hire for experience. I hire for straight attitude. I hire for good culture. Um, Something that I think this generation lacks is people skills. No one knows how to talk to each other. There's not a lot of respect there anymore. It's very just lackadaisical, whatever. I don't really care. I don't need this kind of thing. I really find the people who have responsibilities, who have to provide, and when they're coming in, it's a very easy flowing conversation. His people skills are there, the respect is there. That's what I look for more than how many years have you been a leader. I've hired people that come from, the restaurant industry who've led, kitchens, and those are insanely fast environments. And, if you can stay calm under pressure of, fast environments, even in the kitchen, I believe that you can succeed in this industry as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's I never really thought about that. That's a good analysis. If you can run a kitchen at a fast pace, you can come in here and do a fast paced environment like a data center. Now, when you put your teams together, you compile your teams. How did you create the culture, though? What are you doing when your teams for day one? What are you doing to create that culture? And more importantly, how are you keeping them performing at a high level?
Um, listen, I listen to everybody. Like I said, anything that my team comes to me with, I do my very best to make sure that they get it. Whether it's even breaks. We're working long days. If they're like, hey, I think we would work more effectively if we had an hour break instead of a 30-minute break. I say, you know what? Prove it. Here's your hour break. I, expect everything to be running smoother than it is now. And a lot of the times, that's what happens. As soon as, they come to me with something and I make it happen, a lot of the times it's worked in my favor for sure.
That's great. I like the idea of that. Give them a little bit more time, let them, get refreshed, get their minds back on track. Cause, a lot of these technicians and stuff working in the industry right now, they're pulling 12, 15-hour days. They're
Hmm.
making a lot of money, but they're grinding. And I think that mental health is a huge challenge. Not only in the data center, but any type of environment where you're working 12 to 15 hours. Uh, Mental health is a huge issue. Do you discuss mental health and that type of stuff with individuals? If people come to you and discuss, I need a break. I think I'm just having kind of a mental breakdown today. And what do you do with that challenge?
100%. Burnout is a very real issue in data centers. I see
Yeah.
it every day. I have multiple conversations a week, with my technicians, especially, my leads, foremans. I'm constantly having conversations, right? You know, how are you guys feeling? When I send out the workloads a week, all right, guys, do you think the guys can handle Saturday or do you think we should give them the day off? How do you think, give me feedback from the team. How's everybody feeling? And they'll say, so and so has been really sluggish. They look super down in the dumps. All right, let's not work this Saturday. Let's have everybody help, have a mental health break a little bit. Um, you know, let's go take the team out for lunch on Saturday. Let's go to Top Golf on Saturday. Let's everybody just stop thinking about work for a weekend and let's just
Yep.
go have fun and, like I said, build that culture. Let's just, talk and have nothing to do with work. And in my experience, people are so much more willing to work for you when you're you're there for not only just work, but their personal lives, that as well.
I think that's really important because you spend so much time with people on a daily basis and they become family. And it's important to look out after each other. And I think a lot of people fall away from that. And all they do is expect you to hit the deadline. But that deadline comes at a cost. That deadline comes at a mental cost. In these hyperscales and these data centers are hiring people to protect their $1 billion investments. So the
100%.
message I want to get out there is I hope the hyperscalers and the data centers are listening that they need to take care of their people better because the people that are working for them, because they're investing billions and billions of dollars. So why not treat that investment with care and treat your people and your um, employees and stuff at the best possible way. So I got a couple more questions here on the leadership and team, but what is the best leadership advice you have received from a certain individual?
It's just lead by example. Um, I'll never be, the leader to sit back and, at a desk and bark orders. Um, as soon as I have a new team, I'll be out there for a week making sure that, everything that I'm saying to do for the next year, they all saw me do it. I'm not above
Awesome.
anyone. If I'm telling you to do it, I promise you I've done it or I will do it right next to you. And that's super important to me. I always seen that, my leaders doing that as I, grew in the industry, and that set a very good example for me. Never bark orders if you're not willing to do it yourself.
I like that a lot because I don't lead from the back. I always lead from the front. And if you can show them that you can lead from the front alongside with them, they're going to get so much more work accomplished and your teams are going to be so much more in tune with everything that's going on. They're going to be a lot happier. So I like that answer, Cole, that you said. Is there a leadership principle that you refuse to compromise on regardless of the situation?
Lead by example, the same thing. I would say it's that I'll no matter how high up I get, no matter how high level, I don't think I can ever step away, fully from the field. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever, sit behind a desk all day and tell people what to do. It's just not who I am. Um,
Yeah.
I'll always have to, check on my guys. Um, I honestly don't, like I said, I've never want to be the person sitting in a cubicle, so I'm not going to sit on a desk all day either.
Well, I can tell you, Cole, you can keep your career going. You might be behind a desk, but you'll probably be leaving the desk and going into the career to help them because I see
100%.
a lot of big things happen for you. But let's move into the industry and the data centers as a perspective. um, the data center industry is experiencing a massive growth by AI and cloud, digital infrastructure investment. What attracted you to the business and what continues to excite you about the future of the business? I know what attracted you to this. We went over that, but what excites you about the future of this business?
This is the next revolution. AI is the next revolution. We are literally in history books. We read about the Industrial Revolution. We are in one. Um, you will never be able to experience something like this again in our lifetime, at least.
Again.
I want to be with the times, not behind it. And AI is, the next big thing. You are not going to be able to function, with your job eventually without being with AI. That's just how we're going. And I'm going to be ahead of the curve. And it's just fascinating. It really is. I've never gone into a data center and not learned something new, saw something new, talked to people and them told me something that I did not know.
Yeah.
I've never met anyone who was just full circle and knew everything about data center either.
Mhm.
That's what I think is great about it.
Yeah. Everything's changing quickly, rapidly. There's, AI, there's going to be something else that comes out after this too. So
Hmm.
I believe over the next 3 to 5 years, they're going to be the biggest challenges for data centers. And I think that you're going to see these green fields continue to go strong next 3 to 5 years. And then I think we're going to move into, of course, a day two type of service where we're going to have to take care of these data centers. But with that said, many people talk about power, supply chain, labor, and speed to market. Which of these do you believe represents the biggest challenge for our industry today?
It's going to be the power. Um, it would be almost impossible with the way we're going to keep growing at the rate that we are now. Like you said, the 3 to 4 years, I think that's realistically for new builds. That's all it's got left. I don't think we have enough power to power it all. We're seeing the nuclear starting to go up. We can't turn every single data center to a nuclear site either.
Mhm.
And I see all over social media. You see people's power bills going up and them protesting it. That's a big problem as well. And I just don't think it's sustainable for more than the next 5 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. I will also ask you to think about the supply chain as well, because the supply chain, we're running into a lot of shortage of fiber. I don't know if these manufacturers can make the fiber quick enough. I think without the power, of course, we'll never have a data center, but you can never run a data center without the fiber. So, there's a lot of people coming to me asking me advice about fiber and things like that. Where can I get fiber? Where can I get these high count fibers at? I can tell the audience if there is any speck of inventory out there on high count fiber, better go buy it right now because it's going to dry up.
And that's funny you bring that up too. I've been on multiple meetings, in the last couple of weeks with different manufacturers, and someone was talking about, the difference between one manufacturer to another. And at the end of the day, none of it really matters. Is who can I get it the quickest from? I mean, that's realistically all that matters now. Can you get me what I need quicker than they can? And that's the only competition anyone has, really.
Yeah. So Cole, tell me right now where you're working, what you're doing. Give us some background about the company you're with, and let's do some rapid fire questions after that.
Perfect. Currently I'm with MidPoint Technology. We're national. We're pretty much every state you can think of. Our corporate office is in Maryland. Our second office is in Tempe, which I will now be relocating to. I'll
Great.
no longer be in Georgia in the next month or so. I'll be relocating over to the Arizona office to be on more of the data center and commercial side of things. So very good learning moment for me. Like I said, growth, growth, growth. There's always more to learn. And in Atlanta, that'll be a third office for us. And those three regions, I mean, are absolutely expanding at a rapid rate. It's crazy. And I tell everyone that we're hiring on, the growth potential that you'll have especially with MidPoint is wild. You will never go into another industry and be promoted at the rate that, we can do that. And it's not just because, our culture or anything. It's just the amount of work that we're having. We have to keep up with the work. And honestly, a lot of times there's not enough in a talent pool, to just grab people from everywhere. You have to promote from within, for sure.
Yeah. And I also like what you said earlier too about you hiring people without experience, getting them in the technician, getting them the experience, and then promoting the people within the organization. Every organization I've been with, that has been my philosophy. I've brought people in, I advocate for them, I promote them, and I keep them going on a level where they go from I I think last year, the previous company I was with, I had somebody that was promoted 4 times and started at a base salary of 60, and I think they ended up at like 200,000 within like 9 months, and still growing and still making more money. The opportunity is just tremendous to make money in this. It's a lot of hard work. We're not going to lie about that, but I tell you what, Cole, at 22 years old, you continue the path that you're going down. And ultimately, when you're 250 years old, you're going to be a multi-millionaire if you do it right. If you keep your
100%,
mind straight, if
100%.
you do it right, if you're investing things, you're going to have more money than you can know what to do with, and the advice that you're going to be able to bring for people. So let's just hit a few rapid fire questions here, and then we can take it from there. So, favorite business book? Have you read any business books as of lately?
I have. So, Jocko actually had a leadership book that I read not too long ago. And I also, the Navy SEALs, I mean, I read a lot of those books. And those are something that not necessarily I can resonate with, that are just so just in your face, and just, it makes you realize, how easy I really have it. Right. And I always, imagine, the things that they can achieve. There's pretty much nothing that, I can achieve, or, the people under me can achieve. And that was definitely good read to anyone, regardless of whatever industry you're in. You should always go and, read those Navy SEAL books, because they're super interesting.
Yeah, I read that book several years ago with a group of people, and we broke that book down individually and collectively by chapter, and we discussed it. Great book. I think everybody should go out and read that book. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Hmm. It's a hard one.
Probably a
Hard
lot.
one. Yeah, I've received a lot of advice, definitely. Um,
I think the one of that you probably already mentioned was lead by example. That's
yes,
some
yes.
great advice.
And honestly, it's don't ever be scared to, go in a room too big for you.
Yeah,
Um, just because, you're in a room full of execs, right? You got to go in there with confidence.
I love it.
Confidence is always key. If act like you know what you're talking about, right? And it will come.
But if you don't, just fake it till you make it, right? I
I
mean,
mean, and
like
and
do
to be
something.
honest, yeah, I hate to say, it's worked really well for me. It really has worked really well for me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, the thing is, you talk about things like fake it till you make it, but you know what? You're figuring it out and you're making it. So
100%.
to the audience, fake it till you make it doesn't mean don't lie about it. It means go in there with confidence and, put your hand out, shake people's hands, look them in the eyes, and then talk to them. And, then start learning everything you need to learn in order to be successful.
And when it comes to
Um,
that too, it's I'll never be the person to, say, "Oh, act like I know something." As soon as somebody says something that I don't know, I'll be the first to be like, "Can you explain that to me?" I've never heard that before. I would love to, learn about that for sure. And that's definitely what has made me learn the most, is just getting in those high level conversations. And, as soon as someone says something that, I believe is, higher than the level I'm on, please, inform me on what that is.
yeah, absolutely. Um, People are out there listening right now, probably someone that's like, all right, I want to get in the data center business. And they're thinking right now, I wonder what I have to have. What kind of trait must I have in order to be a successful employee, potentially being hired in this industry? What would you tell them?
Reliability. That's all I need. I can, teach anyone how to be a technician. You can realistically teach anyone to have leadership skills. Reliability is something that you just have to have. That willingness to show up to work, show up on time, be there when people need you. you want to always be the person that, someone can count on. Definitely.
So are you a coffee drinker or an energy drink kind of guy?
Coffee drinker, big time. Coffee drinker, big time. I need to lay off, gain a few pounds. That
Nice.
creamer gets to me.
Yeah. Are you a morning owl or a night owl or a morning person?
Morning, definitely. It's these long days have turned into, both. But, I'm definitely more of a morning person for sure.
That's great. Well, my podcast is called the Strategic Podcast for a reason, because there's a lot of reason behind success and strategicness and professional things we're going to talk about, those type of things. And I hope that this reaches some of the viewers and some of the audiences and stuff like that are listening. What does it mean to be strategic to you? What is strategic?
Planning your work, right? It's just, never go into something just full force without a plan. Um, Plan ahead, dream big. There's nothing wrong with dreaming big. If you want something, there's nothing that can stop you from going to get it. I have a goal for myself, and from day one, I saw who I wanted to be, and I planned out how I'm going to get there for sure.
That's awesome, man. I'm very happy for you, because it clearly shows that you've been polished and you're doing the right things and you're giving the right advice. When I was 22 years old, Cole, I was out messing around at bars and doing just crazy stuff. I wasn't even thinking on the level that you are right now. I'm so excited to see your future. I really am. And finally, if you could leave our audience with one message about leadership, business, and life, what would that message be?
Be there for your people. Your people are who you're going to be successful. You cannot be successful except for the people that you surround yourself with. So make sure the people you surround yourself with are people that will help you grow.
Awesome. Cole Woodard, MidPoint Communications, right? MidPoint Communications?
Technology.
The MidPoint Technology. Sorry, MidPoint. Cole, thank you for joining us today and sharing your experiences. Your leadership lessons and insights into the future of our industry are going to be very, very valuable. To everyone listening, thank you for tuning in to the Strategic Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed today's conversation with Cole. Cole, if anybody needs to get a hold of you, how can they reach you?
You've reached me in my email. My personal email is Woodard, WOODARD, Cole, COLE 4 @gmail.com.
There you have it. Thank you, guys. Until next time, everybody, I'm Todd Stone, and this is the Strategic Podcast. Stay strategic and wait for the next one. We'll be releasing this out soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.